All right. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm very happy to present to you our first speaker of the day, Claudia Romero. She's a holistic productivity expert, consultant, and international speaker who offers a non-traditional approach to optimizing time. She helps leaders and entrepreneurs deal with overwhelm and burnout, simplify their lives, and achieve the results they want, while still having the energy for personal pursuits. She knows what it's like to face tough challenges, both at work and at home, and she brings empathy, light, and creativity to all that she does. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Claudia Romero.
I thank you for that amazing introduction. I feel that I look amazing in paper. Hopefully it's the same in reality or virtual stage. Well, I feel that things have changed. And I suppose you feel the same. And we cannot do anything to change it back. So all practice has to change. We have been slapped in the face with something that we didn't expect. And we were like, have to stop. You have to stop. Everything had to stop. And in that moment, we realized that life is not to rush around all the time, that we can breathe, that we need to breathe, to produce more, and to be able to achieve more. So, do you think it's possible to achieve more with less stress, less overwhelm, and living a happier life? If you agree, give me a yes in the comments and I will check, because this is so important. We had to stop. We were obliged to stop. And we could do it. We keep working. We keep our lives. But then we started to think and see around us that there are more important things in life than only working. And as a leader, you need to take breath, to stop, slow down, to be able to do more and achieve more. We forget that. And what we are trying to achieve here in Leadership, a New Era, is it because there is a new generation coming to put new things in place? Or is it because we have raising our standard and we know now that life is more than just work and get burnt out and overwhelmed and stressed all the time? We have seen that we can put limits, we can put boundaries, and life keeps going on. It's not going to crash. We are going to keep doing what we need to do. But now we have that standard in place and we feel that we need to be there for our families, be there for our loved ones. It is a massive wake-up call. It was a massive wake-up call. And as a human being, we forget that. We tend to forget the things that are simple and we say, oh yes, we need to change. But then we come back to the old practices and all the things, and then we are overwhelmed and stressed again. And we need another wake-up call, something very strong to happen in your life, to say, oh, yes, no, I need to do that. I need to stop because my health is compromised. And then it's a cycle, one and again and again. But when we understand that with simple things and very simple things, we can change everything. We have the solutions for everything. There are solutions. There are simple solutions. Small tweaks here and there, and you will see progress. When you slow down, you say, oh, I don't have time for that. But if you keep going that way, maybe you are not going to reach the end. The elastic band is going to snap and you are not going to be able to do anything. So sometimes slowing down to speed up and get results, it is the key. Why I'm talking about this? Why me? Because I am a productivity coach, because I started at very early age of my life. And not because I wanted to be productive and organized and have all in control. It was because I was very lazy. To be honest, my aim was sleeping and have fun. And because my father was a former officer of the Navy, for him was very important duty, responsibilities. You have something to do first. And because if I didn't do that, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to have fun. So I started to train myself to do the things the best that I could in the less amount of time. And it worked. I have more time in my hands. I have freedom because I could do the things, because the responsibilities and all the part that I needed to present to others was sorted. And that gave me like the key to university years, and then working in a very, very hard environment in a huge company that I had to keep on track the workload of over 130 people. So deadlines, organizing all the things was easier because I learned since I was very young. But then just have your life sorted and, well, life say, no, we have another plans for you. And then I met my husband and we moved to Scotland. So I had to start from zero again. And I had my first child, and then the second one very close, and the third one after 3.5 years. So in the time frame of 3.5 years, I have 3 boys. And my youngest son born with a very, very rare condition. And that meant that I had to juggle life at home, life at hospital, without any support because my family doesn't live here. I'm from Chile, so the language is not as fluent as you. But the thing is, I adapted. Why? Because I had the tools in place, the organization, what are the priorities, what is the things that matter the most. So yes, it is tough, it is difficult, but it's not impossible. No matter what do you have in your plate, you as a leader have to put those things in the sack and see what is really important, what you need to do that nobody else can do, and delegate to the other people. Because when you delegate as well, they feel value. They feel that you are trusting them. And you are going to stop micromanaging everything. You are going to stop putting out fires. Because people will start to respond to you. They will help. When your vision is aligned with their vision and they understand what is the purpose of the company and the business, they will feel engaged. They will help you because they will feel value as well. And they will feel listened. And when you put your own health, your own mental health first, you can help others to do the same. You can help because you understand that now. You understand that having a good state of mind it is the key for everything to run smoothly and easy. And you will see the returns. You will see that the business is growing. You will see that everything, all the pieces are in place and working like a big engine. But when you forget that, you are not the only person that is working in a business, you will start to have troubles because you're going to start to micromanage everything and you're going to start to feel the pressure on yourself. But that is not a great leadership skill. Sadly, if you do everything in your job, you are having a job, not a business. Because a business should be working in autopilot without you being present. Otherwise, you only have a job. And no matter how, you are irreplaceable, but your work is replaceable. Anyone else can do your job, but not anyone else can do the things that you do. And when you understand your weaknesses and your strength, you can play that in your advantage to help the business grow. There are many, many things that I want to touch now and talk about, but I don't have the time. And I want to let you the seed here that I call the soul productivity method. It is my signature program, but it's simply 4 steps. And you will see that it is simplifying, organizing, understanding, and leveraging the key to make your business flourish, successful, and unstoppable. These points, I will take it more on board in our mastermind coming in August, on the 4th and the 24th of August, that we will talk more around the different presenters. But my aim is not to only teach you these things. It is to show you that it is possible. I'm a normal person. I'm a totally normal person coming from a country that maybe many people doesn't know about, that have to deal with language barriers, that have to deal with many pressures. And I love what I do, but I always have time for me and my family. Because as my grandmother said one time, the only people that doesn't have time is the people that is dying. And that is true. And we saw that the past 2 years. And I don't want anyone to go to the deathbed, look back and say, I wish I could do that. I wish I could spend more time with my family. I wish I could travel more. I wish I could not worry about money that much, but enjoy what I had. And look back and say, I am happy what I did. I'm happy and proud of the legacy that I'm building. And I'm happy to live the life that I wanted. Thank you. Now, I would like to introduce our next expert, Nancy Moulton. Her experience in her childhood, in her own childhood, molded what she is now and how she approaches work, because she felt firsthand that the way you feel at your work has a big impact on your personal and family life. Now she helps leaders to create workplaces where she is good to work, when you feel happy, when you go day in and day out, and the company gets the outcomes they are looking for to grow and succeed. I am so grateful to have met her and learned her perspective of leading in a new era. So without further ado, I present you Nancy Moten.
Thank you, Claudia, for your lovely presentation and for this very nice introduction. You know already how I admire how you handle things, and I think everyone can learn a lot from you. I would like to take you all back to a moment when I was about 12 years old. It was a Friday late afternoon. School was out and the weekend was just starting. My mom was there when I came home. And I could leave everything from school aside. I just could go out and play. You know, that nice feeling of everything is possible. Maybe you remember that. Or even if it would be raining, that wouldn't bother me at all, because then I could continue reading. I love reading books. One book after another, I can't get lost in a book world, forgetting everything around me, not hearing anything, not forgetting everything around me, just be in a different world for some time. And I love those moments when you still had a whole weekend in front of you. Then my dad would come home from his work. And he didn't feel good because he didn't like his job. And it was not only not liking his job, it was draining him because of the bad atmosphere. So when he came home, all this negativity came with him. Even on a Friday evening, he was nervous about going back there on Monday. The thoughts of work on Monday hung over the weekend like a cloud. And now you might ask yourself, then why didn't he change jobs? And it is a good question. However, it was a moment that changing jobs wasn't easy. And having a bad job was better than having no job at all. So he did what people do. He stuck it out. And his sense of responsibility to his family won out, and he put his own well-being on the side. It wasn't an option to leave. So the moments when I got home and when my father arrived, my good feelings about starting the weekend diminished. And I could feel his frustration, his nervousness, and his anxiety. And in fact, it was even worse than that, because it started with my wondering what it would be like when my dad came home. Would he be okay? Would his form be good? And a little anxiety was building up in the house while we waited. And this has had a very big impact on me as a child. Now, part of this situation has completely changed today. Many people change jobs more easily now, and instead it has become a challenge to keep the people in your company. Now, people don't stay in a bad situation at work. They take the option to find another employer. The Great Resignation, as it's called, has begun and is projected to continue with people re-evaluating their work situations all the time. So do you recently have people leaving in your company? People who you were convinced were committed and motivated? People you could always count on, not understanding why they would even want to leave. If that's the case, can you give me a 1 in the chat? Can you say that the people in your company are staying and are committed to their future and your business? And losing people is a costly problem to have. We all know that, on a practical level alone, because you have the stress of writing a job description. And do you want them to do the same job? Or are you going to shift it internally so you can't use the former job description anymore and you must start over? And then comes the stress of wondering, will there be even people reacting to the job application? And when? And what kind of people? Will they be the right people? And then you will have to make a choice. Will it be the right one? And for those of you who do this, you know that even once you find the right person, it's only the beginning of their training. And training new hires along with recruitment is a large and unwelcome expense. And it can be during training that we find that a hired person isn't even the right fit for the company after all. And you have to start over again. Have you ever faced that situation? Did you have to start over to train someone? How much time was it since last time? And are you still as motivated to explain and teach them everything they need to know as you were the last time? Or do you think already from the beginning, how long will this person stay on? Is it worth the time and the energy to do it as thoroughly as you did the previous time? How long will it take before you can really depend on them and that they are fully trained? Because we know that hiring and rehiring is firefighting, and it leaves us in a non-productive situation that harms our businesses. And this is even without going deeply into the issue of people being disengaged at work. Because research in the USA and UK shows similar things. UK research shows, for example, that people were only engaged in their work for less than 3 hours a day. So this means that when people are at work, they are mentally checked out. So they are at work for the time their contract says, but their work lives are passing them by. And we had a saying that sometimes it seemed like people were putting out their brains, leave it at home, come to work, do their job, go home again, put their brain in, and start their life again. It just seemed that they weren't there. So what if you could break that circle of rehiring? What if you could have people stay longer in your company before they finally do decide they want to leave? And what if your employees would be your biggest magnets for new people if you choose to hire new people, and not only because you must? So what if people would love to stay in their job just because they really love working for you and your company? So I have been working for more than 20 years in food companies, and I've seen many people start, and I have seen many people leave. And I've seen the impact it has on people of each time rehiring, telling the same story again and again and again. So what can you do to make this change happen? Now, Claudia has already spoken to you about how to prevent stress and overwhelm. Keely is going to tell you more about the leader as a coach and the importance of mindset of the leader. Virginia is going to show you the importance of good feedback. And I'm going to talk to you about strategic leadership and system and procedures. And I know for many people, that's not a favorite part. However, once you have your vision and your direction, it's time to make it real. And a very powerful way to do this is to translate this in very clear objectives for the next year and for the next 3 to 5 years? And how will you know you reach those objectives? Can you link them to clear indicators? Can you measure them timely? And what difference will this make to your leadership? So having worked in a quality assurance for many years, where quality standards are demanding, I developed a system for making a summary of our objectives. So every 3 months, I did a check on our list. How far were we with everything? Which items were finished and could be dropped off the list? What was started but not finished yet? Were they new things? Were there things we planned on doing, but then we decided for whatever reason that we would put them on hold for now? So I was making my phone calls. I went to see my different colleagues and I made a summary of the different areas, because it was not only quality, of course. And I made my list, so I could show this during audits. You should follow your objectives. Check, we do that, we have a list. So do you make such a list in your company? And if you do you do it only to have that list so you can show it to whoever may ask you to show this? You make the list, and when it's finished, you just put it in a file, and then 3 months later, you have a look at the list again, and you make a new update. So for those with objectives on a checklist, it's a filing exercise. And what if, instead of just putting it in a file and forgetting about it, you would use this as a working document? What if this became your roadmap? Your roadmap with clear key indicators, so you know what are your next steps and you can follow the progress. So your first key is the key clear indicators. And once you have this, you can align the people who will be working on this, who must work together from the different departments. What is needed to make it possible to achieve your goals? So this is your second key, the alignment of the teams and the resources. Then how will you know that you are still on track? How are you going to follow the progress? And here it is so important to ask and give feedback on a regular basis, so you know you are still on track, or you must change some things, and not only after 3 months. So key number 3 is tracking for accountability. And with those 3 keys, you are already way ahead of many other companies. And having systems and procedures in place, it even helps to support this whole process. People will have more clarity on what, when, and how to do it. And for new people, it's easier to have something to go instead of having to ask everything they need or want to know. Because be honest, even if you train someone, you still have to do your own work and you're not always available. So it not only makes work more predictable, it gives also more clarity. And having systems and procedures in place helps to make evaluations based on data and performance against preset objectives. And this makes it easier for a leader as well. So in summary, if you want to use your goals and objectives as a roadmap, there are 3 keys. First is define clear key indicators. The second one is align your teams and resources. And the third one is track for accountability. And have a facilitator to do so, putting systems and procedures in place. So I hope you have enjoyed listening to my presentation and you are able to take something out of it. And I hope even some of it resonated with you and showed some ideas that can help you. If you are intrigued now and you are interested in knowing more about this, then join us for our next event, the 4th or the 25th of August. Register for our next event and we would love to see you there. I mentioned at the start my dad and my own personal experience of being in the household of an unhappy employee who felt unfulfilled in his job. When I discussed the leadership at this time and the ideas about employee well-being with my dad, even today, he doesn't understand the idea of how important employee well-being is. And that alone is sad. And on the other hand, I have been there myself. In each job, I have been committed and motivated. I've worked together with many people and I've experienced myself the things that really make a difference. And when I had this feeling of well-being and satisfaction in my job, it's made a big difference in all areas of my life. And the time I spend at work fed into my life outside work and enhanced me. It made me feel purposeful, and it led to my being a committed and dedicated team member. A time came, however, in the last couple of years that I lost the satisfaction of what I was doing due to a lack of several factors we are talking about here today. That was the moment I decided to leave my job myself and share what a difference this new way of leading can mean. I wanted to help bring this way of leading to other organizations. What we are proposing here will not only help you to improve commitment and motivation, it will help also that your employees will be happier to work with you and for you. And happy people are the people who will boost your company, who go the extra mile to make things happen. And they will go home feeling much better about themselves and what they do at the end of the day than my dad did. So thank you for listening to me. So now I would love to introduce to you our following speaker of today, Keely. It has been a real pleasure to work with Keely. She loves to see the shine in someone's eyes when that light bulb moment occurs. And then she rediscovers their why, and then being a part of their journey to help make it reality. She's a coach, she's a trainer, she's a business strategy and program delivery executive, an international speaker and author. And she took a leap of faith and stepped away from the corporate world so she could help to inspire other leaders to achieve an even more fulfilled life, personally and professionally. So I'm very proud to present to you Keely Woolley.
And thank you very much, Nancy. I love the introduction. And first of all, thank you for sharing your story. And what I love about that is that you've learned from your experience and you're taking it out to other people so you can share that and teach them. So that's fantastic. So everybody, what I'd like to do is start by asking you all a question. Put one in the chat if you would like to be even more fulfilled and successful, both professionally and personally in your lives. Thank you, that's good to see. That's a good start. So as well as being more fulfilled and successful, put a 2 in the chat if you would also like to do that with an engaged, motivated team that can contribute to the success of your business. Perfect. So where are you now? Maybe the vision that you had in mind for your business is not being realised in the way that you wanted anymore. And sometimes you feel frustrated because you don't know what's changed. And maybe you don't feel as motivated and energized as you should be. And you can't be that because you're the leader and everybody is looking towards to you for direction. And possibly you have a situation where you're becoming busier and busier and you're not quite sure how you're going to solve the next problem. And you question how you're going to achieve it. And the result of which means that you're spending more time on the phone in the evenings and at the weekends. And you're saying, just 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. And we all know that it goes beyond the 5 minutes and you've wasted yet another evening with your family and friends. Or potentially you find that the motivation and the drive within the organisation is not as it should be. And the result of which means that they're not being creative, they're not being inspiring anymore, and they don't want to contribute to your success anymore. And potentially you have a situation where your teams are not aligned with the vision of the company. And as a result, you've got conflicting priorities. They're going in one direction, you're going in another direction. And your resources are not being used resourcefully. And you're hemorrhaging money as a result of it. And in fact, you're worried about when it will finally bleed out. Now, the thing is, where do you want to be instead? Imagine that time when it's 6:05 in the morning and you're not due to get up for another 25 minutes. But you don't mind because you're sleeping like a baby and you're enjoying life, and you're enjoying life with passion because you love what you're doing. And picture that time when you're spending more time with your families. You've got that freedom in your life because no one's disturbing you. You can go out, you can enjoy things. You're focusing time on the business rather than in the business. And you enjoy what you're doing. And visualize that time when everybody has got the same vision in mind. They're all striving towards the same values and beliefs, and they want to watch you to achieve success. And as a result of that, your company is thriving. And picture that culture and environment where everybody feels empowered to be creative and motivated to share ideas and inspiring it, and you become the company of choice that people want to go and work for because you've got a brand that everybody believes in and they love the culture that you're in. Now the question is, if you're over here with the pains that you've got and you would love to be in a situation where you've got the gains over here, how are you going to get them? Now I believe that with the right guidance and support and strong leadership and a clear vision and purpose on your journey within the organisation, that you can create success with a sustainable culture and a holistic, unified approach that empowers your teams to strive for excellence. And why is it important now? How many of you have been in a situation, think about it, that you have contributed an idea within a company? You've had a thought, you shared an idea, and immediately it's shot down. How did you feel? And what did you do? Was you compelled to share an idea again? Was you going to reach out to people? Or do you think, do you know what? What's the point? And yet, when you've been in a place where you have been able to share ideas, you have been able to be challenging and questioning, what did you do? You started being creative. You were empowered to challenge and question. You knew that you had the back of your leaders to support you. And ultimately, you wanted to contribute to the company's success. Now, we've already heard from Nancy that one of the things that you can't do with an organisation anymore is that you can't motivate through manipulation. And what do I mean by that? It's that, giving bonuses or increasing salaries or giving shares. That's finite thinking, not infinite thinking. And the result of which, it means that your employees still get dissatisfied and disillusioned, and they leave. According to the Leadership Council in the US, they've cited that 87% of engaged people are less likely to leave an organisation as opposed to those that are disengaged. And with Gallup, which is a leading consultancy company, a global company, they've turned around and said that in the US, 70% of the workforce is disengaged, and it's costing them £11 billion in lost earnings because people are leaving the business. That's just the US. Imagine that for the entire US, the entire globe. And the question is why is that important now? Generation Z, I think we've all heard it, is that this generation is the trust generation, where values and beliefs are integral to people and their purpose. And not only that, our millennials, their status is the experience of a company is critical to them. And according to Editor's Choice, in 2025, millennials will make up 3/4 of the population. So picture that in the future and the situation that that will bring to companies in the future. And it's not exclusive to them either, because as we've heard from Claudia, is that the world has pivoted because of COVID, and also because of other things that are going around the world, with the wars that are going on and things like that. The whole mindset has shifted in the workplace. And as a result of which, people are rethinking their approach and their priorities have changed. They realise that families, they want to spend time with their families and their friends. And on top of that, they realise that they will only work in a place if it has purpose. So being fulfilled and inspired whilst they're working is a motivation. Now the question is why would you listen to me? So let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever noticed that when a plant isn't watered, it's not nurtured, and it's kept contained in a pot, it doesn't thrive and it doesn't grow to its full potential? Now, I'd like to take you back to May 2011, and I am heading down the M1, having just spent a day in Loughborough, because I was achieving my award for the world-class manufacturing event. And I'm sitting in this V60 Volvo, silver one. The sun is shining through the window, and I can hear the purr of the air conditioning blowing through. And they're sitting next to me. He's got blonde hair, slightly red face because he's always going sailing, and he's got this smile on his face. And as he's talking to me, he's telling me how proud he is of my achievement the previous day. And then the phone rings. And suddenly you see his whole demeanour change, and the smile on his face disappears. And as he presses the phone, before he's even had a word to say, this big, deep, bellowing voice comes out the phone. Where are you, Mark? Chris, we already discussed this. I'm up in Loughborough. I'm supporting Keely at the event. Yes. Yeah, that's right. I thought I told you that you couldn't go. Yeah, I know that, Chris, but we discussed this. They're our biggest client, and Keely's doing this because you wanted this program to be brought into the place. And it was on their recommendation. Well, I didn't expect you to stay over anyway. I know, Chris, but they did a celebration after all the delegates went, and there's no way we could have drove back late. Well, he says, as soon as you get in the mill, you make sure you come and report to me and give me a status update. And the phone went dead. There was no well done. There's no congratulations. No, how did she get on? And in that moment, the sunshine that was through the window disappeared. And there was nothing but darkness. And all I could see next to me was a man that was broken and sad. And interestingly, it made me realise why I got the letter that I got the previous day from all of the delegates or the people that was running the event itself. And the letter said, congratulations, Keely. It's clearly that you've done a fantastic job and you've achieved your result. And you've done so much in the last 6 months. Unfortunately, this will never succeed in your place because there's no support from your leaders in the organisation. Wake-up call. Now, this event was unusual for me. I didn't experience this. But my boss had this with his own boss, Chris, every single day. He was micromanaged every day. He wasn't trusted, he wasn't supported, and he didn't get the guidance that he needed. And the result of that meant that that cascaded down the business because he had to micromanage his teams. And unfortunately, his teams didn't understand why. And they just saw that he was the problem. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt like you've had this thorn in your side that gives you so much discomfort? And everything that you do is not a bed of roses. And you feel like you're withering inside because you can't be who you are and do what you need to do. Now, in February 2015, I can proudly say that I got promoted to head of projects in group procurement in a completely different department. And I thought that there was that opportunity for me to finally be able to be a true leader. Unfortunately, my boss had a different idea. And things never changed. Now, a few months later, it's late afternoon and I'm in this office and it's or meeting room, shall I say. And I've got an opaque glass wall on one side, one to the other so people can't see it. And on the left-hand side of me, there's this big whitewash wall and there's a screen on there that you can either draw on or project onto. And in the middle of the room, just in front of me, there's this long desk, lots of chairs, and within it, I've got all of my team, plus I've also got my peers because we all reported into this leader. And there he is, sitting at the end of the desk, quite short for a man, and he's got short hair. And he's always got this sort of smile where he's trying to be friendly, and yet he's got this arrogance about him, this self-assuredness, and this I know it all kind of attitude. Rather like David Brent from The Office. That's the best way I can describe him. Anyway, I'm standing up So right then, Mr. V, I would just like to say to you that the whole of the team, we spent the last couple of months thinking about this and considering what would be the best way to run our team and be more efficient. And what I'd like to show on here is Keely, Keely, Keely. Stop, stop, stop. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand. Yes, I know, Mr. B, but if you give me a chance, then I'll be able to explain it to you. Keely, sorry, stop again. I don't understand what you're saying. Yes, yeah, I know, Mr. B, but if you give me a chance and give me the opportunity, I can explain it to you. Keely, don't patronise me. And up he gets and pushes me to the side and starts writing on the board. And he draws this structure and the organisation. And he goes to everybody, and this is how we should be doing it. And this is the best way, and this would be more efficient. And then he turns to the entire team and says, so everybody, are we all in agreement? Yeah, okay, yes, we all are. Finally, one time we're all in agreement together. That's fantastic. So once again, our whole team walks out of a meeting room, disillusioned, frustrated, and felt, what's the point? Nothing changed. Now, I can now finally say that in 2017, I became a procurement director, head of program and project delivery. And I didn't have a leader that I needed to go and seek. I was able to then start leading a team how I wanted to. And the first thing that we did as a team was to establish what our vision was and our strategy, to see how that would look within the organisation in the future. And the first part of that was to identify our growth strategy. What were our core capabilities? What skills were needed? And most importantly of all, what values and beliefs were needed to achieve that vision? And the other thing that we had to consider is that as a team, we were located in 4 different countries. And we was also running projects in 37 different countries. So we needed to find a way that was efficient. And we need to have a systems put in place. And we needed to make sure that we were communicating the message at the right time, in the right way, to the right people with the right message. And importantly, give people the autonomy to be able to achieve that, but the training that they need to be able to make those decisions. And most importantly, is making sure that they knew that they had the support and backing from their leaders when they needed to make decisions. Now, I'm not saying that I absolved all direction, because there are times as a leader that we all need to have direction, but there's that fine line between being a director and then enabling others to be able to have the autonomy to make those decisions. And as a result, you get an empowered team. So one of the things that I'd like to consider there is that, like any garden plant, have you noticed that sometimes you need to, on a day-to-day basis, you need to make sure that they're watered and you need to make sure that they're pruned. But there are other times when they need to be self-nurturing. And the beauty of that is that they grow in their own natural environment. And have you ever felt that you've finally been able to flourish and that you're able to grow, and that helps you and your team perform in a way that you've not before? Now, despite me being challenged by some of my peers, being questioned about the way that you actually run your team, I knew this was the right way. And we had a team that was empowered and that they did perform. And one of the things that was even better was the fact that my team was enabled to be able to be part of the recruitment process. And that was from the most senior person in the team to the most junior person in the team. And although I triggered the process, they was involved in the interviewee's last presentation and selection. And that empowered not only them, but it also empowered the person that was being interviewed, because they was able to see who their team was and make sure that they were the right fit. Now, as a result, I did have a supportive, united, high-performing team that collaborated well together. I can also proudly say that 2 members of that team become directors over time. And what I also love is that still members of my team, when they contact me, they affectionately refer to me as boss still. And they still reach out to me when they get a promotion or they get a job offer or something personal has been achieved, like maybe having a baby or getting married or something like that. So it always makes me smile. But let me leave you with this thought. It is true that sometimes a plant, when it's confined to its space and not watered and it's not fed, that it will struggle to thrive. And yet, when you do nurture, when you do water a plant, and you do move it from the pot it's in and you allow its roots to grow, something truly beautiful is created. Now today, I won't have time to talk to you about my mind shaper that I help with my clients. But I will be talking about that further and doing a deeper dive on our talks on the 4th and the 25th of August. And I would love to share that and do that deeper dive with you. But what I would like to say, and it's really important, in fact, I would ask you to write this down. One of the key skills of a leader is intention. And what do I mean by that? It's your intention to lead with all consistency in all that you do as a leader. And that's with your why, your purpose, your what, your how, and in association to your values and beliefs. And the result of which means that your teams will feel motivated and energized. They'll feel empowered and they'll feel confident to share ideas because you've got their back. And they become more creative and they become more innovative. And they want to work for you because you're the company of choice. So, you've also heard that from Claudia, there's a clear link between the things that I've got to say in terms of clarity and purpose and consistency and nurturing, not just them, but yourself. But also, there's a clear message with what Nancy's had to say in terms of the importance of strategy and having robust systems and being efficient in what you do and having a clear message. But you also need to ensure that the environment that they're in makes the teams feel empowered and engaged. And now, without further ado, I'd love to invite Virginia, who's a specialist in inspiring executive leaders and and teams with fast-growing organisations to excel their productivity, their well-being, and their adaptability through design thinking, experimentation, and creating a more human-centred culture. So, over to you, Virginia.
Thank you so much, Keely. I really appreciate that introduction, and I enjoyed your presentation so much. So much clarity there between the examples you gave and the stories you gave, and I just appreciated everything you shared, and that goes as well for you, Nancy and Claudia. So hello again, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you all. Before I dive into a few of my ideas and tips about new leadership and culture, I just want to briefly mention where I'm coming from and why I do what I do. So a few years ago, and I'm going to keep this deliberately vague, I realized that I was burnt out. This was before I met Claudia. I was burnt out again. It was the third major time that I'd found myself totally depleted and fed up. And I asked myself, is this just how it's always going to be? Forevermore, that no matter what work I did, I was going to feel this way? And I'd always learned very quickly wherever I was working. I'd done a great job and I got plenty of praise, but work took over my life and I felt like I had no control. And I suffered for that. And I had changed sectors, I had changed roles, I had changed countries even. And yet there I was again in burnout land, right? I was tired, I felt threatened by everything. And I was always anticipating more threats around me, hypervigilant, you know? My system was on high alert. And there was no end to that in sight. And at that moment, I decided to start seeing a burnout coach because these repetitive cycles all throughout my life, they were just killing me. And I'm so grateful to my past self for seeking that specific help. And my coach had me write down some of my thoughts back then, and particularly my resentments, to see what that revealed. So I will read a little bit of that to you now. This is just a short excerpt. And this is what I wrote. Work shouldn't suck the life and soul out of you. I'm not really living, and I haven't been for a while. I give up too much of my time, and it's ultimately pointless anyway. I have no energy or desire left to do the things that I used to love, like travel. I just can't be bothered to go do things and see people. It's easier just to veg out on the sofa. I feel like my work has damaged me. And maybe that sounds really dramatic and exaggerated, but I was definitely experiencing every bit of that then. And I remember feeling trapped with a touch of panic in the mix, as I'm sure you detect. And above all, I was exhausted and needing all of my remaining energy just to exist. So my initiative and joy was gone and I was lost, basically. Has anyone else experienced anything like that? Drop a 1 in the chat if you know what I'm talking about with burnout. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to see so many ones. Yeah, it's really, really a common thing, unfortunately. And the funny thing is, whenever I read an article about burnout, the writer always mentions decreased efficacy as a symptom. And I find that strange because, yes, you definitely lose physical and mental capacity when you're burnt out, no question. But many times you're still getting a great result for whoever you're working for and with, because the sacrifice comes from your own vital energy. At the beginning, at least, you can be just as efficient or at least just as effective as you've always been. The outside result is there, but the difficulty is that in order to achieve this, it takes so much out of you that there's nothing left when you go home. And if your home is not a calm place for your nervous system either, it's even worse, right? And your only focus becomes work and maybe a little bit of rest and escape, right? And maybe the company knows that you're struggling, but you're told to just hold on a little bit longer. And then just a little bit longer. Things will change, right? No, usually they don't change. So there may be short-term results from pushing your people to the limit, but the situation is not sustainable. There comes a moment where even hardworking people, their efficiency will have to diminish and their effectiveness as well. And at that moment, the last satisfaction that they had of getting things done is gone, and it's full burnout. As a company, you're going to lose your best assets in the end if you operate this way. And managers are just as likely, and in fact, slightly more likely to burn out, by the way. The point is that we can do a lot better than we are in our workplaces. Okay, so let's take a second to breathe, and then we'll get more specific about some of these things. This is not a talk about burnout, I'm just kind of telling you where I'm coming from. And it is important because what I do, I see as kind of an antidote in part to burnout. So through my coaching and training now, I help companies intentionally create a working culture which is high performance, not despite being human-centered, but because of being human-centered. You don't need empathy if you're working with robots or cogs in a wheel, but you do need empathy with humans, for example. And well-being at work isn't just a buzzword. It's essential. And, you know, it's a win-win. You create a lot of leverage when people feel safe and good. They're more likely to buy into your vision and your plans. They can move forward together with mutual trust and accountability. When people feel good at their jobs, their energy isn't drained by doing it. They become more energized, and you create energy and momentum for everyone. And that's worth striving for. My colleagues today have talked about alignment, the alignment of various things, of the mission, of resources, your people, and consistency. And I would add that transparency in the form of an open feedback culture is also key. With this kind of culture, you have much less gossip, cliques, and negativity going on. And it's also a way to effectively follow up on your initiatives, right? All change is iterative, so the need for feedback never ends. So what is an open feedback culture, and is it attainable? What does feedback mean to you? And what is a feedback culture? Does that mean you are always telling people what they need to improve, telling them what mistakes that they've made? Do you also tell them what they have done well? Do you compliment them? I know some people say that when employees do their job well, then that's just what they're paid for, and there's no reason to comment on it. But actually, it can make a huge difference for someone to hear their team leader or their boss say to them that they did a good job and know that what they did makes a difference. How much more motivated will they be in that situation? And just a little caveat to the above. Some people are fine with being complimented in a public way, and others prefer it to be private. So please get to know your people well, so you can honor this preference as much as possible. Going back to the concept of the open feedback culture, the open part of this term means that everyone is safe to speak up, no matter who else or what project is involved. You don't have to be afraid to speak up. There will be no negative consequences, no reprisals if you do. Clearly, if there are negative consequences, that will be the end of speaking up. You know, Keely's mentioned this. I'm sure almost everyone here has experienced this, right? And any kind of negative consequence would really probably only need to happen once in order to stop people from taking that risk, right? And I just want to acknowledge that some places do have true unfairness, and there's discrimination still against particular sets of people. And this cannot stand and must be addressed by companies and society. But that's a separate talk in itself and better done by specialists. So let's imagine that you can and do achieve this openness. That means there's essentially no hierarchy and no punishments for being honest, on the condition that feedback is given with respect towards others. And this has everything to do with leadership style and leading by example. These are not just words, it's true. Leaders have to model what they want to see in their teams. So now, if you could think, what is one small thing that I or a leader could do starting Monday that could show their support and show how this non-hierarchical open feedback could work? Do you have any ideas? Could be something very small. How do you show people that they could give feedback and receive it vertically, horizontally, in every way? The feedback culture part of open feedback culture means that it's normal and unremarkable for people to elicit and give feedback very frequently, right? It's something that's baked into the culture and it's practically continuous. It's not a special event, but it's a daily occurrence. Not many companies are doing this yet, but I'm sure you can appreciate the potential impact. In the chat, we have some nice ideas for how to model the open feedback. Ask them to do it. Asking for help, absolutely. When they see leaders asking for help from everyone, it really means a lot. Ask how they're doing, if they need something to do their job better, absolutely. And being vulnerable, right. It really means a lot to be brave and vulnerable and show that it's okay and there's no bad consequence, to the opposite, in fact. Thank you. Listen when they talk. Don't try to solve problems or have answers prepared. Take your time with them. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that. You know, you're really present. You're really listening. 2 ears and 1 mouth. Indeed, Claudia. Indeed. So if you do provide frequent, quick, and convenient and safe ways for people to give feedback on a daily or a weekly basis, it just makes it so easy for people to acknowledge when they might need something, for example, to get better at their jobs, as Nancy mentioned. Even people that would normally never initiate such a conversation end up communicating quite a lot more and bringing their ideas to the table. And what is the result then if feedback culture is done well? Besides bringing in more creative ideas from more diverse voices, which itself is amazing, the team starts to get more proactive and agile. You see better people development, of course, and retention, but you also see faster and more creative improvements in your processes, in your products and your services. And that's what you want, isn't it? Yeah, you see results, right? As mentioned before, you also need to be careful that feedback is thoughtfully given. It's not just giving your opinion on how things should be done and leaving little space for dialogue. No. In fact, we want interaction and true understanding, right? It's not a broadcast, it's a conversation. So if you're ready, I'm going to give you 7 tips that I've collected for how to move towards a positive feedback culture that's open. And the first one, number 1, is, of course, by all means, provide a lot of opportunities for feedback. And that can be small group meetings, even short forums, or simple, hello, how are you doing? Anything you need. But please keep in mind that quantity should not take the place of quality. So don't just spam people with 1,000 feedback forms and think that your job is done, right? So we want to think about quality over quantity, even though we do want it to be frequent. And number 2, feedback can and should be done through different modalities, written, spoken, etc. But the emphasis should be on interactivity, and actual back and forth. This means it's not just you telling your team members what to do, how to do it, when. It's giving them the opportunity to share their ideas of how things can be done. And you might be surprised with what they come up with. There are different and maybe easier ways to get things done that improve things for everyone. And 3, people should be encouraged to seek feedback more than necessarily going around and offering it to everyone. Right? If you're encouraged to seek feedback as much as possible, this trains you to seek collaborative input and kind of gets you out of criticizing mode and more into reflection mode. Right? It's also so encouraging when you find out that whenever you have a problem or you just need a sounding board, that others around you are more than willing to help you out. And number 4, when you ask for feedback, be specific about what exactly you need. We really forget to do this so often. We just say, can you take a look at this and tell me what you think? And then what happens? You're disappointed a lot of times, or you think, oh, well, okay, you don't get what you need exactly. So it's worth thinking about what kind of feedback do I want, about which aspect, how much detail, those kinds of things. So really think about what would be helpful and formulate your request clearly. And 5, instead of jumping to provide your thoughts and impressions on something when you're giving feedback, ask the other person or people questions first. Get curious, right? This is something that Gordon mentioned in the chat, right? Before you give a lot of feedback, ask questions. There may be something about the situation you didn't know or didn't consider, and that may change the feedback that you want to give them. And when you lead by asking, it provides a lot of space for other people, right? And it creates a non-judgmental atmosphere. And in the end, you have more commitment from people because they feel heard. It's that simple. No? 2 more. Number 6, make a point to show people when their feedback has been implemented. This shows appreciation for what they've done, for all the thinking they've done, for the feedback they've given, and it creates a positive spiral. And people want to give more feedback, right? It lets people know you're serious, that you're listening. Not doing anything with people's feedback will lead to apathy fast. And it's a waste of money, furthermore, in effort. Number 7, don't forget acknowledgement and praise. That's an important type of feedback. So I'm mentioning this as the last one, but its importance can't be overestimated. So this way you show you care, not only for what they do, but also for them as a person. We want it to be human-centered, right? Be sure to tell them why you're praising them and why what they did was important to the business. So again, specificity, it really helps. Okay. So all of this is an ideal, and it takes time to put into place and to arrive at this kind of place. But it's iterative. Everything is iterative, right? I would say that if people see that changes are happening in the right direction, even if they're small ones, then they'll be patient with the implementation, and you're going to get more and more buy-in all the time. Yeah. So what could change in your company if people were freer to give and receive frequent quality feedback? What would that be like? Engagement. That would feel really nice. Motivation, right? Trusting environment. Absolutely. Commitment. Energy. Yeah, it would change a lot of things. Care for each other as well as the business, right? Right. That feeds us. That feeds us. Absolutely. Yeah, it's the antidote to burnout, right? Engagement, support, energy, motivation, trust, commitment. That's what feeling of belonging. So important, isn't it? So important. We want that. We want that. We need it. Yeah, I love that too. Feeling of belonging. Yeah. It's really important. That will keep you in the company. Great. And so I just want to talk about a particular client story as well. This has to do with feedback and also about some other aspects of leadership and culture. And this client, I'm going to call Anna. She's the director of a family-owned, pretty large international B2B manufacturing company. And like many manufacturing companies, there are a lot of complicated logistics involved, but she's very efficient. She makes sure she's involved in all the departments. And unlike many of the executives we talk to, she doesn't feel overwhelmed. On the other hand, well, rather she feels quite able to juggle everything. Recently, in particular, she finds herself answering a lot of customer emails because she says she wants to make sure they feel taken care of. Right? She's always in CC on all communications. Her head of customer service, Beth, is quite outspoken and seems defensive, she says. They've had words recently, Anna and Beth. And from Anna's perspective, Beth doesn't seem to be helping the sales team very much. So I was able to speak a bit with Beth as well, and she's spending a lot of her time worrying with each customer contact she makes that Anna will then criticize her for saying the wrong thing. She's spending a lot of time and energy on this worry. The customers are also asking sales for favors behind Beth's back. And Anna is also speaking to customers without keeping Beth in the loop. So what's going on here with Anna and with Beth? What is the outcome that each want? And I'm going to suggest that clarity should be the starting point here, along with transparency. Clarity in roles and clear expectations also create that feeling of safety for everyone, right? You don't have to defend your territory. You're not always, watching out. While Anna's convinced that what she's doing to keep customers satisfied and the way she's doing it, is what needs to happen, it makes Beth doubt herself, right? It gives her the feeling she's not good enough in her job, because if she were, why would Anna be doing what she's doing? So the situation is diminishing Beth's willingness to take action herself even further. And this reinforces Anna's idea that her interference is needed. So it creates more of a snowball, right? Does Anna see the necessity for empowering autonomy and proactivity in the teams? Maybe she thinks so, I don't know. If she could do this, if she could empower people, then Beth would be more confident doing what she does, and probably much better at her job than she is with Anna intervening, right? And if Anna and Beth are brave enough and open enough to have a conversation about this, then they can co-create a plan, including training if necessary, with a clear timeline for changes to occur, right? They need to find a way they're both happy with. If they can speak openly of what they each want and need, and with respect about it with each other, then we can find a satisfactory solution. And Anna should identify which tasks can be done by her alone. Yeah, well, everyone's been talking about this today, right? What can be done only by her, such as high-level strategic operations decisions? What does she do that no one else can do in the company? And what are her particular strengths, right? She has endless energy and time now, but that may not always be the case. And, she may lose some of her amazing assets by then. She should appreciate her team members and help them feel fulfilled in what they're doing. In fact, I'm happy to report that Anna and Beth are now talking to each other civilly, and they're co-creating a plan together. So this is no longer a lot of indirect suppositions and assumptions. So I'm very happy that they're working out a plan together. So my question to you is, if any of you struggle a bit with delegating and creating clarity in the roles of people working with you, or if you've also experienced the other end of that in the company where you are or have been, what are the delegation challenges and clarity challenges that you've seen? The vision is not clear. Yeah, right. Absolutely. The vision isn't clear. How is anything else going to be clear? It's not communicated. Right. Leaders have difficulties of trusting their team. Yeah, I can empathize. I really can, because yeah, you know, if I control everything, everything will be fine, right? But it's not the case. You have to let go and trust. Values are written on a wall without context. Yeah, and maybe they're only words. Exactly. All right, and vice versa. Yeah, feel they will lose control. Right. Yeah, there's a lot of fear here. And good intentions, absolutely good intentions, but fear. Gordon says, if I need it done well, I have to do it myself, right? Not sustainable, understandable, but yeah, there's a lot of consequences. I think almost all of us have experienced some of this. Fear of failure. Absolutely. Yeah, right. And again, going back to the feedback culture, being judged, right? That's another fear. Fear of failure, fear of judge, fear of losing control, fear that someone will take their jobs because they think that someone will recognize they can't do something, right? So it's defending, right? It's hiding, a bit of hiding. If I do everything myself, no one will know, right? Maybe a little imposter syndrome, maybe, or just competitiveness, you know, picking up on that scarcity and it's going to be taken away from me. They're going to know. Yeah, there's a lot of fear here. So it really takes a lot of grounding and work that the leaders do on themselves, and in constant conversation and communication with everyone, and clear expectations, and then making changes gradually and talking about it the whole time, right? Maybe in some places on earth, the fear to be fired when they communicate on an equal level. Yeah. Again, it's defense. Are we in this survival mindset, or can we, you know, let go a little and start to thrive and help other people thrive, right? Raising your head above the parapet. Ooh. Yeah, it's scary. You have to be brave, right? To do something different, you have to be brave, and you have to stretch, right? So it's interesting. It kind of requires almost shifting into a new identity, which is terrifying, right? Yeah. Thank you for your ideas. Yeah. Into your real identity. Yeah. Someone told me this is what fear of success is. It's the terror that comes with trying to shift into a new identity. What happens to the old one, right? The old one was comfortable. Yeah. Okay. So a related topic I'd love to delve into as well when we have more time, perhaps in our leadership masterminds on August 4th and 25th, is how exactly to engage in so-called healthy conflict. And I'm referring to how to talk about potentially sensitive subjects at the right time, in the right way, to avoid making someone feel defensive or harming the relationship. Language matters, and acknowledging other people's humanity does too. And this is a very juicy area of discussion that maybe we can get into in the next event or two. For now, I hope that we have shown you how important well-being at work is, not only for your employees, but also for the company. We aren't robots, we are humans. If people love their jobs, they'll be more present, more productive, less overwhelmed, happier in general, and you and your company will benefit from this. You'll lose fewer people, reduce the need to rehire, and you'll attract the right people when you do hire. And everyone will just get more done with less time wasted on distractions. Think about how much time is wasted defending territory, worrying about this, talking about them, and you just get rid of a lot of the drama, right? People will be able to do what they're meant to do, what they do best, sustainably, without such a high risk of burnout. Human beings, not human doings. Absolutely agree. So that's all from me, and I hope you've enjoyed and been inspired by the personal stories and new era leadership ideas presented today, and gotten some actionable items as well. We're certainly honored to have had the opportunity to be here. Thank you so much for attending or watching the videos. As we've mentioned, we're offering leadership masterminds in August on the 4th and 25th. And these will be geared specifically to the particular challenges faced by the attendees. It will feature all 4 of us bringing our perspectives and questions and expertise to the issues that most concern you. So please sign up now if you want the 50% discount that we're offering only to registered attendees, whether you're here live or watching later. The full price of this mastermind session is 56 euros or 48 pounds. But registered attendees for today's event will only pay a reduced rate of 28 euros or 24 pounds, which is 50% off. And you'll see in the chat box the link to register. So we'd love to see you there. We're asking for a bit of information so we can tailor everything to you specifically, and we can really generate a valuable conversation in that session, in those sessions. So thank you again so much for being here and for participating. We appreciate it very much. And thank you very much. Take care.
So just want to say thank you very much, ladies, for very informative, very engaging talks. I love the way that you bring your personal side to it. It's not just a PowerPoint presentation. You know, I love to hear your experiences. And I think from looking in the chat box, there's lots of people would agree with that. It's a very fresh way of hearing how things, you know, benefit us. And the thing that really speaks to me out of all of what you're saying is this isn't just about the person, the employee and the business. It's about the relationships of employees together. And because they are cared for, they then care for each other and the business thrives and grows. And so what you see happening is that the employees actually, they feel so valued and cared for. They know they're nurtured. They know that they're expected to move on. They're expected to move higher. They're expected at some point to leave and go to another company, but they're not going to go with a bad feeling behind them. They're not going because they don't want to be there. They're going because you've lifted them up. The company has lifted them up. It makes a massive difference. It makes a massive difference to the reputation of the company. And it's a whole new way. I've seen the other way, and it's not good. It's not good to be leaving a job because you hate it and because you feel undervalued. So thank you ever so much for your input. And certainly look forward to coming to the next session, and do register for that session. I know the ladies will be emailing you as well after the event, but do make use of the 50% off because it is for those people who've registered. Thank you again.
Okay, so I would like to say thank you to everybody.